This happened about 30 years ago. I was definitely the A/hole in this situation, but, in my defense, I was 5. My family's home phone number was one digit off from a sporting goods store in my town called Joe Jones. Naturally, we'd get a fair number of calls from people with the wrong number. We had caller ID, so my parents would see an unfamiliar number on the ringing phone and say looks like it might be someone trying to call Joe Jones again. They'd pick up and say hello? I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. And then just hang up and say yep. Joe Jones again. Now, since I was 5, I failed to realize 2 key things about this situation. 1. Joe Jones was the name of a store. Not a person. Easy mistake to make. 2. That it was different people calling each time. Since my parents could always tell when it was a call for Joe Jones, I thought it was always the same number that they kept recognizing. I had only ever used the speed dial, ask your parents what that was, to make an outgoing call, so I assumed some friend of Joe had just misprogrammed their phone to call us instead of him, and was really lazy about fixing it. I was annoyed this person kept bothering us. Then came the day. My dad was at work and my mom was home with me. She was busy with something when the phone rang and asked me to answer it. I went over to the kitchen phone, reached up to pull it off the hook, and said hello? Hi. Is this Joe Jones? I was finally talking to the person who had been bothering us. I summoned up all the righteous fury young me could muster and said very sternly into the phone, no. He doesn't live here. Stop calling us. My mom jumped up and snatched the phone from me to apologize to the caller and smooth things over. After she hung up, she took the time to talk to me to make sure I understood what was actually going on and how to be polite over the phone. She wasn't angry. These days, I always try to be polite on the phone, regardless of the situation. I think back to this incident as being the day I learned that lesson. Thanks, Mom. I miss you. So this just happened at work today and I thought I'd share it. I'm a shift supervisor for a retail drugstore chain. Regardless of your position at the store, your shirt has the company name and logo on it. On occasion the store manager will wear business casual if he has to do something outside the store. We all wear a lanyard with the company logo on it with our name tag and scan card at the end. When you walk in, there are 3 cash registers next to each other. About 3 feet in front of the registers is a 3 feet tall wall with candy, magazines, and other impulse buys. Customers wait their turn in that 3 feet space. Quite often customers with a quick question will be on the other side of the wall to ask their question. So today the lunch rush happens and I jump onto a register to help my front cashier get the line moving. As we're ringing customers up, a customer wearing business clothes approaches the wall. Let's call him John. John has a dress shirt, tie, and a name tag pinned to his shirt. From the design of the name tag I could tell he works at the hospice nearby. Quite a few of their employees are our customers and a lot of their patients get prescriptions from us. John says, "There's a man over there that is looking for men's hair dye." I told him I don't work here but you're busy so I'll help him. I tell John while ringing up a customer, aisle 2 between the men's razors and the deodorant. John responds, "Where's aisle 2? I say right behind you." John sees the aisle marker and goes help the man. I can see aisle 2 from where I'm standing and I see John helping a much older man find and pick out hair dye. The older man proceeds with his shopping and so does John. The next time I see John, he's finished paying for his stuff and leaving when I run up to him and say thank you. John waves and leaves. My friend and I often hang out in the form of running errands together. Last week, I accompanied her on a shopping trip and she wanted to try on some stuff at Lululemon. I was just there for company, moral support, so I was happily exchanging sizes and colors for her and just chatting through the door while she tried stuff on. At some point, I take a seat and start doing the Wordle. A woman accompanying her daughter, maybe, says to me, "Excuse me, okay, so we've been watching you running around waiting on this one woman, meanwhile we've been waiting for 5 minutes. Can we get a room or what?" For some reason I was compelled to apologize and then say I didn't work there. She didn't follow up with an apology or anything, just said okay. What is it like to be that bold? When this happened I was working as a checkout chick in a supermarket and it was between one of the COVID lockdowns in Australia when non-essential stores had opened for a bit. I was at a shopping center in H&M getting some of the basics I'd been needing to replace, new pair of jeans, singlets etc., when an entitled mother mask down to her chin, I sadly recognized as being a regular annoying customer at my store march up with her little boy Gollum 45. Side note, I had worked at the same store for several years and had seen Gollum grow from a normal kid to an entitled brat, and she had previously tried to trick me into babysitting Gollum while I was at work. Hey, I just need to grab a few things. Could you watch my baby for a quick second? Turns to walk away / Me, sorry no, I can't. And, you may not have noticed but your mask isn't on quite right. I was getting very sick of reminding customers about this but couldn't help it. Storms back over / Have you got something better to do? Me, that doesn't matter. Don't you work here? I'm a paying customer and you need my business. Me, no, I don't work here but that wouldn't matter. This is a clothes shop and people here are working so no one can babysit. She said a few more things before storming off, dragging Gollum who had begun pulling things off the rack. And #X200B. At my next shift I was dreading the encounter when she came up to my register. Gollum was screaming in the trolley about wanting Macas, but she didn't act any different. I guess she hadn't recognized me and just assumes that all retail workers look the same and exist to do her bidding. Nothing major, just a post to say that not all people asking for help assume that you work at the store. Sometimes people just need help. I was doing my grocery shopping, hoping to hurry up and get out before the evening rush. As I rounded a corner, an elderly lady was blocking the way. I said excuse me and was going to go around her when she looked at me and said, "Can you help me?" I could not bring myself to say I don't work here, I just said of course. She needed help reaching some items on a higher shelf. I'm only 5 feet 6 inches so I had to reach on my tippy toes, but I was glad to help. One item I couldn't reach so I enlisted the help of another shopper who grabbed the item with a smile. She said thank you and went on her way. Team effort. I work in retail. I've started denying I work there. I find it funny to embrace the awkward. Maybe you will too. I'm not a very social person, and I can come across as strange and aloof. I've been told by my wife that I have resting Rasputin face. I'm friendly and happy, but the vibe I give off on a first impression, for better or worse, definitely worse, is this dude is probably into taxidermy. We all have to play the hand we're dealt. Our store is very laid back, we're in a tiny little town where everyone knows everyone. Customers are greeted by name and asked if their dog's feeling better today, you get the idea. But we're also a lonely, remote exit on a long stretch of highway, so we sometimes get out-of-towners who stop by to gas up, pee, and restock on sugary human fuel. Often, they're miserable from the road trip. The kids are rampaging hurricanes now that they're free from the back seat. These customers know they'll never be back, and sometimes they act like it. They're disrespectful and trash our store. To them, we are nobodies from nowhere. To be fair, they're probably right. These folks also don't know where anything is. So they spot me, decidedly not looking like a model employee, t-shirt, jeans, no name tag, one headphone in. Still, I obviously work here, since I'm doing planograms, price tags, cutting open boxes to stock shelves, etc. Here, we reach a fork in the road. They can ask politely, "Hey, do you work here?" And they'll be helped to the best of my abilities. Or, their tone of voice can send them down the other path. The fact that I don't match their preconception of what a worker drone at some suburban outlet store should look like will add a hint of disdain to their voice when they almost sarcastically sneer. "Excuse me, do you work here?" Eye contact, try a smile on. The trick, I read, is to smile with your eyes and not show teeth. I think I've mastered it. Deadpan, very convincing, play my hand as dealt. "No ma'am, this is just a hobby." And back to work, ignoring them. If they get too upset I'll give in a little and offer to help them on the condition that they don't tell anyone I was in here volunteering again, but usually it's just a blank stare and a really awkward silence until they shuffle off and I keep doing what I'm doing. It's not much, but I get a kick out of it.